One morning in 2018, an Israeli lifeguard showed up for work and found the entire beach had collapsed overnight into a hole the size of a basketball court. That hole was not special because more than 7,000 sinkholes now ring the Dead Sea, and fresh ones keep tearing open along this shoreline almost every single day. This lake sits 1,400 feet below sea level at the lowest dry land anywhere on Earth, so standing on this shore means you literally cannot go any lower. The water here is nearly 10 times saltier than the ocean, so nothing survives in it. Yet that same density means you float on the surface like a cork. Compare satellite photos from 1972 with today, and the shock is obvious because the Dead Sea has already lost about a third of its entire surface area. The level keeps falling more than 3 feet every single year, and hotels that were built right on the beach now shuttle their guests over a mile to reach water. So where did it go? Because the Jordan River that feeds this lake has been tapped for drinking and farming until roughly 5% of its flow actually arrives. At the southern end, industry pumps even more water into giant evaporation ponds to harvest potash for fertilizer that probably helped grow something you ate this very week. Every retreating wave leaves buried layers of salt behind, and fresh groundwater then creeps in and dissolves those layers, like sugar in tea, carving huge hidden caverns underneath. Scientists can roughly predict where the ground will fail next, but nobody on Earth can say when, so entire beaches, campgrounds, and even a military outpost simply got abandoned. The stakes are bigger than scenery, because resorts, farms, and the mineral mud Cleopatra reportedly demanded for her skincare all sit along a shoreline that is actively falling apart. Watch the orange marker because it slides lower every single season. While the mud flats widen, the old docks strand, and the maps of this valley quietly get redrawn. Now for the wild part, because the Red Sea sits just past the mountains, and the Dead Sea lies 1,400 feet downhill, which means gravity works for free. Engineers call it the Red Sea-Dead Sea conveyance, and the plan runs seawater 110 miles north through pipelines and tunnels across open Jordanian desert. As that water plunges down into the Rift Valley, it spins turbines and generates clean electricity in one of the driest, most energy-hungry corners of the entire planet. That power then feeds desalination plants, which turn part of the seawater into fresh drinking water for Jordan, for Israel, and for the Palestinian territories all at once. The leftover extra salty brine gets poured into the Dead Sea itself, so one single project delivers water power and a rescue mission for a dying famous lake. In 2013, regional rivals actually signed an agreement to build this thing together with an estimated price tag of around $10 billion, which stunned nearly everyone. To grasp the scale, imagine picking up a decent-sized lake and carrying it across a desert, then doing exactly that again every single year forever without stopping. Then chemists asked one uncomfortable question, because nobody truly knew what happens when you pour an entire foreign sea into the strangest, most mineral-packed water on Earth. Tests showed the mixture can breed a mineral called gypsum that turns deep blue water milky white, like the world's most famous lake, becoming watered-down milk. The route also crosses an active earthquake zone where one cracked pipe could bleed seawater into the underground freshwater reserves that scattered desert communities depend on to survive. Critics kept pointing at a cheaper answer because, instead of building a brand new river through the desert, we could simply let the old Jordan River flow again. Between the chemistry, the cost, and the politics, the mega version was shelved by 2021, and Jordan pivoted to a huge desalination plant at Aqaba instead. Yet the problem never went anywhere, because the water keeps falling a full meter every year, and the marker on our gauge sits lower than it has ever been. While governments argue, the sinkholes keep spreading north along the shoreline, swallowing roads and date farms and anything else unlucky enough to be parked above the dissolving salt. Here is the twist, because as the sea shrinks, its water grows saltier and heavier, which slows evaporation down and gently pumps the brakes on its own disappearance. Scientists think that within a century or two, the lake will settle into a new stable balance at maybe a third of its volume, smaller but very much alive. The question is, what vanishes on the way down? Because the beaches, the resorts, the farms, and that famous healing mud will not all survive the long slide. So the Dead Sea will not actually die, yet it is shrinking into something only old photos will remember, unless somebody finally builds that impossible river through the desert.